Hello and welcome to the Courageous Influence Talk Show, where we have courageous conversations that help build people of courageous influence. I'm your host, Alex Cutterford, and I'm joined by my mate and pastor, Caleb Dwyer. How are you, mate?
Good morning.
Are you in a good mood?
I'm terrific. No, I am.
No. I know, you're in too good of a mood this morning.
Sorry.
Sometimes, Caleb, this hits beast mode.
Sure.
All right, so we're back into the studio. Mate, we've been working on some new lighting. It's halfway there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get it there eventually.
We don't do anything too quickly around here.
Yeah, so today in the show, we're going to be diving into some exciting things.
Oh.
I'm going to be talking to Caleb about Carlton.
Carlton.
Because he's excited.
Potentially.
Potentially.
We live in hope.
Caleb is potentially excited.
Yes, I have the hope of being excited.
Yeah. I'm excited about there's a possibility of being excited. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're saying this morning.
If games go to form this weekend, which hasn't happened for about 6 weeks.
Just pulling up the app.
It's been incredibly surprising what's been going on. But if they do, by the end of this weekend, Carlton can sit a game out of the 8 with a couple of good games on the way home, and we'd be in 9th position. We haven't been in 9th position. I know. See, most people be hearing that going, "That's rubbish. You're a game out of the 8 with 2 to go." It's like Carlton hasn't been within a chance of being in the top 8 with 2 games to go for about 9 seasons.
Yeah. I think their percentage is going to hurt them even if they win. Look, West Coast hasn't had much of a better year, even though we are in the finals at this point still.
Currently.
But the chance of actually doing any damage in the finals is not looking hopeful for us. So,
by the way, how are we already at the finals?
Because the year just keeps flying by.
Yeah, it's nearly.
So, but this is the finals that really matters.
What?
AFL fantasy.
Oh,
so
I'm just heartbroken. I was in the comp until a couple of weeks ago when my app broke, and I couldn't update plays. And I got
your app broke, right?
I got beaten by someone I should have flogged.
Yeah.
And that game made all the difference.
Yeah, but mate, you're still in the finals.
Yeah, but not in an do we start again?
No, so
I just thought it was like you played the whole year and whoever ended up on top, but we actually get to do finals.
There's
series.
finals. So it's a final this weekend.
Oh.
So the last 3 rounds of the regular season is the fantasy finals.
Well, see, I haven't paid attention this week because I've been so cranky about losing. Not last week, the week before.
A coach's job is to stay engaged, all right? You can't just give up at the moment of first adversity.
Well, you don't know what it's like.
We're going to turn this into a life lesson now.
You don't know what it's like to be a Carlton supporter, right? This time of year is painful for me.
So, you are versing Jono Williams in an elimination final this weekend. Are you ready for it?
There's a slam dunk.
Have you been thinking through your trading?
No, I don't need to, mate. Smash it.
Have you got any injuries you need to clear out?
Yeah, possibly. I did have to play with one injured player last week because of the week before.
Yeah, you didn't get rid of
changes.
Yeah. You can get it on your desktop as well.
Oh, I did not know that. But I've fixed the app. I just had to delete it and re-download it. I don't know.
Nice.
Something went wrong.
And then, so Dave Hitchick is up against Brett. And I've got the week off because I've gone through to the prelim.
Oh, straight through.
And so I am going to double ground. We're just going to nerd out for 5 minutes and then we're moving on.
Right. So if this is boring you, skip ahead.
Just go watch the short snippets and don't watch this one.
Just skip ahead to the 6-minute mark.
Yeah.
We'll be right.
Do. So I'm going to be double downgrading this week, storing up some cash so that I can then upgrade some of my other rookies. So that I'm going to come into finals. Now,
why? You're unbeatable anyway. You've played the game smarter than the rest of us.
No, well, at the end of the day, I'm still wanting to try and see how far up the rankings I can get.
You're not still trying to win the forward drive, are you?
I'm a long way off the car.
Oh, well.
But I am starting to get better scores than some of the people whose podcasts I'm listening to. So
really?
But it's just taken me too long to get to that point.
I can't believe that you listen to podcasts about fantasy football.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Well, it's just like listening to a footy podcast, any regular footy podcast.
Not quite.
It is because it's entertainment as much as
sure.
Like they're not full nerds. it's going, oh, look at the maths on this guy.
Yeah, it's good.
Like,
It's good. I'm not having a crack at you, and it shows up in how you're playing. You've been. You only lost one game for the year, I think.
Yeah, lost one game. Dave Hitchick played out of his skin. Beat me by 3 points.
And I have noticed a bit of banter. He's still holding on to that one.
Yeah. He goes, yeah, he's loving it.
Good.
I was thinking we could do some awards for our fantasy league. So it's just like 8 of us guys from church. And
We should definitely.
Dave Hitchick definitely wins the best team picked in 5 minutes award. It literally came down to the wire. The game was
did
about
too,
to
I
start.
remember that.
And I'm
Yes.
texting going, hurry up, get it in. Otherwise, you're not going to make the league.
Yeah, he did too.
Oh, man. So,
Uh-huh.
well done to
And
Dave
then
Hitchick.
one of our other top ranked players did the auto select.
Yep. And then he's done well of just maintaining it, keeping him a full team on the field. So he's done very well for someone that doesn't actually follow the AFL. I would say Brett was probably most improved.
Most improved.
Yeah. Caleb probably, what is it? The should have achieved more.
Stop being back in primary school.
No, yours was unlucky award. You had injuries to your app.
I had injuries to my players and my app and
Yeah.
my phone.
I had a lot of injuries this year. It was ridiculous. All right, we'll move on from fantasy.
All right.
Have you got any other wins or fails for us this week?
I had a bit of a fail. It's been one of those weeks with numerous evening meetings. And I had one here Tuesday night. And I realised that I finished doing some pre-marriage counselling with some guys, and then I had about 40 minutes and then another meeting. And I went, I can actually quickly pack up and race home and say goodnight to the girls.
In 45 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I live 25 minutes out of town, and I had a couple of things to do.
Yeah, so that's 50 minutes there and back.
No, I would go home. The next meeting was a Skype meeting.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I did the math, don't worry.
Yeah. Good. Well, you make a good fantasy.
And so I went, sweet. Packed up my computer and everything really quick, finished a couple of emails I had to do. Yes. Ran out to the car. I'd left my lights on in the fog that morning. Flat battery. And then there was not enough time. Like, I couldn't get Renee to drive all the way in and jumpstart it. Plus, she had the kids, so we had to get the NRMA. And then it's like, what do? Do I get the NRMA now, knowing that if I order them now, they're going to turn up halfway through my meeting, and I've got to say, just excuse me for a minute, guys.
Hold on a second, got to go jumpstart my car.
Or do
Wait
I
till
wait
after
till
and wait
after
till
the
really
meeting,
late.
and then it's late. So I went, you know what?
Conundrum.
All right, things aren't working out the way I want them to, but I've still got the 25 minutes. Maybe the NRMA can come in that time.
How'd they go?
They turned up 30 seconds before the meeting started. So I had to ring one of the people in the meeting and go, can you start the meeting? I'll be there in a minute. What's up? Flat battery. By the time I got on, there was a bit of banter.
Yeah. Nice. Warranted too.
Yes.
No, that's pretty unlucky. That's unlucky timing.
It was frustrating.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But you rose above it.
I tried to do the right thing for the fam. And what a bonus, because otherwise I wouldn't have known until after the meeting.
Yeah.
If I hadn't tried to do the right thing and race home, it would have been 10 o'clock at night, and I would have been standing there going, no.
that would have sucked.
Yeah, so all's well that ends well.
Well,
But I had to leave the car on the whole time I was having the meeting.
Oh,
And
you can
at
hear
one
it
point,
running around.
yeah, because it's a diesel,
Yeah.
I can hear it. And then at one point, I couldn't hear it. It was just slightly raining, and I'm going like this. And then one of the guys on the call, he straight away copped on and goes, she stalled. I went, no, I can still hear it.
Oh, man. My fail / our win. So there was some tech workshops happening on the weekend.
There was.
And
You and I kept up well. We added a lot to that.
no, all we added
Sure.
was stupid comments. Just, yeah, and it made me realise. I don't know what it made me realise. I was just hope something stuck in there somewhere that one day appears. But for now, we're happy to have the producer.
You know what it makes me realise? I've 100% reached that point where I don't even want to know how it all works.
What can I say?
Just
except
like
you're welcome.
I just need someone who knows to plug it all in.
Yeah.
I can run cables.
Yeah, sort of. Do you have a life lesson for us today, mate?
Oh, I did have one. Have you got one? You go first.
So for me, I've just been sort of thinking through over the last couple of weeks about some of the filters that we view life through, and how sometimes different filters are helpful in different situations, and other times they become less helpful. And so some of it is around the way that we're sort of perceiving right and wrong, sinful or holy, and we can have these sort of lenses, and sometimes just a small tweak can help us sort of get to the same place, but in a way that is more uplifting, more encouraging, and more helpful. And one of the ways for me over the last few months, as I've just sort of been going through different life stages and things like that, one of the things I started trying to encourage myself to think about was, is this deep or is this shallow? So rather than necessarily thinking, is it right or wrong, I recognize the thing that I want in my life is a level of deepness and substance to the life that I live. And so sometimes if I'm sort of sitting there scrolling, because it's around things like, am I going to sit and scroll through my phone and switch off from the world, or do I want to actually engage in something, thinking about something, doing something that adds some substance and value to my life and to the people around me? And so that was this sort of had me thinking on that idea of deep or shallow, but sometimes we might look at life through, is this right or is this wrong? Is this, there's the ideas of heavy and light, sinful or holy, all of these different things. And sometimes in different contexts, that's the filter that you need to sort of look at it through. But I was just recognising that in this season of life, that was a helpful filter for me to look at things of, is this leading me into something deeper? Because it's very easy to live shallow, and, sort of like temporal or eternal,
Yeah, it's good.
Lasting or fading.
Definitely. And I think we're all so good at justifying things to ourselves.
Yeah.
And so adding a different filter rather than just right or wrong can be actually square yourself up a bit.
Yeah.
Because we can make, it's not wrong.
Yeah.
Like it's not
Yeah.
wrong to sit here wasting an hour flicking through my phone doing
Yeah.
nothing. It's not wrong. I know a friend of ours, Shane Willard, will often say, is it wise or unwise? Like, what's the wisest choice here?
Yeah.
And when I first heard him say it, I was like, is this just softening? Is this taking a step back from right or wrong? Is this being... But then the more I wrestled with it, the more I realised, no, if anything, it actually makes you think deeper about it.
Yeah.
And it's much harder to wriggle off the hook of, is this
Right or
a
wrong.
deep, lasting thing for my
Yeah.
life, or is this right or wrong? Because you can always go, well, it's not wrong, therefore it's right. Well, sure, but is it actually the wisest choice? Is it the deepest choice? Is it the best choice? So that's really cool.
Yeah. And it takes away, well, for me anyway, this removes any elements of beating yourself up, It's like you don't beat
Sorry, folks.
you don't beat yourself up for being a bit more shallow as much as you would beat yourself up for believing I was just so wrong.
Yeah.
So you're trying to, whenever you're trying to have filters in life, you're trying to always remove blame, remove shame, condemnation over yourself.
Yeah.
And allow yourself to go, no, this isn't about blaming me. This is just about finding a deeper substance to my life.
Yeah, and I think that's true. But a saying that Dr. A's that I often use in things like pre-marriage counselling is, you'll be talking through some stuff and you can see one of the couple starting to get a bit uncomfortable because it's hitting home for them. And the question is it... Thanks, producer.
If you were watching, you probably just saw the most ridiculous thing ever.
Floating box of tissues.
A stick reaching in and pushing the tissues back.
If you're just listening, you got no idea. You can hear that a few things are going on in the background. I have the bizarrest sinuses in the world. That cold air suddenly sets me off as though I've got hay fever.
Yeah.
And so my nose has just started going off, and I reached over for some tissues. Then I left them in shot, and so the producer's helping get them out of shot, and it's just all happening.
Good times.
So
Good times.
please ignore the background rustles.
A
So
detailed explanation by Caleb Dwyer.
Dr. A.
And so one of the things I'll say is, look, this isn't a fault-finding mission, it's a fact-finding mission. And some of the facts might be that we need a change. It's like the difference between condemnation and conviction. Conviction, I've learned in recent years to actually thank God for conviction. I'm so thankful that His Holy Spirit convicts me, that His Word convicts me, because if it wasn't for that, I'd continue to live in blindness in areas, and we've all got blind spots. We've all got areas to grow in. There's areas in my life right now that are not adding up to God's best for me. There are areas in my life, and you can use whatever language you want around that, but it requires repentance and change. Right? You can use the sin word, but that's just reality. And it's not that I'm okay with that as in, oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm not perfect yet. Oh, I still sin sometimes. Oh, but being okay with it in terms of I'm not going to allow that to make me live in condemnation, because as soon as I do that, I'll try and hide it. I'll try and cover it up. I'll try and pretend it's not there. But when I live in such a way that goes, I accept that that's the human condition, and whenever it's brought to my attention by Holy Spirit, by the Word of God, by friends, by others around about me, I want to have the courage to deal with it and grow. Then all of a sudden, we don't live in condemnation, and we're thankful for conviction. It doesn't mean it feels brilliant in the moment, but you don't sit in it for as long,
Yeah.
right? So you can have that instant of, oh, yeah, you're right. I need to pull my socks up there. And that doesn't feel great, but that's it. I don't need to stay there then for a certain amount of time beating myself up in sackcloth and ashes, but I can just go, I can see that. And sometimes it requires humility to say, if it's something that you haven't been getting right with your spouse, can you help me in that? Can you forgive me? I want to get better at that. And it's such a cool way to live where you're actually like, yep. And I think any form of Christianity that is afraid of conviction or lumps conviction and condemnation in the same thing just limits growth. It's not healthy. It's not helpful.
Yeah.
And that's like what you're saying. To be able to put a filter on it that goes, I don't want to live in condemnation. I don't want to live in guilt and blame and beating myself up. But I do want to live in a prism that says, I can grow, I can get better. I'm not perfect yet, and I'm up for dealing with that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And that is the dream zone, when you can decide that you don't want to remain the way you are. You want to grow, you want to change, because we all have things that we can be developing in ourselves. But you don't want to do it driven by condemnation and guilt. So you want to actually enjoy that process, because when you remove the guilt and shame, you can just enjoy. It's such a enjoyable journey of feeling, because you reap the benefits of all of that development, all of that growth, because it's often removing pain points in your life.
Yes.
And allowing you just to live with more freedom, more joy.
And it makes you better for the people around about you.
Yeah.
You know,
you
like
can add more. You can
100%.
Yeah.
We try and pretend it's not there, which is the whole fig leaf thing. People know.
Yeah.
And it inhibits our ability to be vulnerable and real and connect with people.
Yeah.
Which is, like you say, it's there anyway.
Yeah.
Why don't we just deal with it? And the cool thing about what happens in Christ is that our lives are stamped forgiven. So because we live in an environment of forgiveness, we don't have to cover this stuff up.
Yeah.
Right? So that, it's a mind-bending concept, but when we really start, and I feel at times it's like, yes, I get it, and then something will happen in my life where you're like, I'm probably not quite living in it yet. But when we realize the freedom that we have in Jesus, that we are forgiven, right? Past, present, future sin is dealt with at the cross. I can't earn it off. It's not like Jesus paid for all my sin before I came to him, and now I've got to pay off anything that happens afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like, no. And because I live in that environment where condemnation doesn't rule, any conviction is just a, come on, let's get better. Come on, let's grow. You don't have to. No, don't waste time hiding it and pretending and excusing. There's no need to do that anymore. Just acknowledge it and move forward and grow. And what a free way to live. And then we can offer that to others, right? So when someone we love, someone in a relationship isn't getting it right, and we can see a weakness in their life, we don't need to beat them up and condemn them. It's like, hey, I live in an environment of forgiveness, and I want to give that to you. I do this thing with my girls, and we crack up.
Yeah.
I'll say the stupidest things I can think of. So it'll be like, I love you when you're good, and I love you when you're bad. I love you when you're happy. I love you when you're sad. I love you when you're eating vegetables, and I love you when you're eating boogers. I love you when you use your rose bath bomb, and I love you when you do stinky farts.
Aww.
And what I'm trying to get into that cycle is I always love you. That doesn't change.
Yeah.
But there's things I do want for you that are good.
Yeah.
And we just have this game, but I'm trying to actually just get them as a little kid to realise my love of the environment you live in. You live in an environment of love and forgiveness. And because of that, that doesn't mean you don't grow. That's actually the very environment you can grow in.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Do you have a life lesson for us this morning?
I did. I've just lost it again. So I found this really cool thing that I've just been meditating on, and it's about how to stop taking things personally. I want to be someone who is unoffendable, right? Because life happens in leadership.
Yeah.
Criticism is the price of leadership. It's that simple. If you're going to lead, you're going to be criticised. There are decisions that you have to make that even, at the moment, some of the things that I'm involved in leadership, and we're making big decisions about different events and whether they're happening or not. And in the Christian world, particularly, if it's a church-based event or some work I do with the movement that we're a part of, you know that you're going to have absolute polarised camps where some will just be like, oh, you're just living out of fear and you're cancelling things because you're letting COVID and the media run your life, and they're just trying. And then you're going to have people on the other extreme going, how can you put that on as a Christian? You can't possibly have events right now. Christians are supposed to be caring and considerate, and you care more about your right to meet than you do the health. And I can kind of see validity in, but again, it's what we're saying, right or wrong. All right, so it doesn't matter what decision you make, you're going to upset someone, and there is some validity. I'm not saying which camp is 100% right or wrong, but there's some validity to both viewpoints.
Yeah.
And so you realise after a while in leadership that upsetting people, offending people, or making decisions that will be criticised, and there's some validity to some of that criticism, is just the price of leadership.
Yeah.
It just is. And so when that happens, people who aren't in leadership, or even sometimes people who are, and that's even more disappointing, can really be critical. And I want to realise that that's about them.
Yeah.
It's about them maybe not having all the facts or the figures, or it might just be about their perspective. Yeah. And they're right to hold that perspective. It's okay that they have that perspective, and that perspective means a decision I've made deserves some criticism, but I had to make a decision. And so how do I live in a way that I'm not taking all that personal? Or as leaders, I think it's a big reason why leaders burn out, is you just get decision fatigue. You're sick of making decisions that criticise people, especially when there is no perfect solution. Yeah. And I think one of the ways that I can just keep leading long term is live unoffendable. Doesn't matter what someone says, doesn't matter how they criticise it, I can just keep loving them. And so I found this really cool thing around emotional health and how not to take things personally. Yeah. And so there's 7 things, and I've just been sort of really spending a bit of time on a couple of them. And so like one of them is, ask yourself what else the comment or behaviour might mean. For example, if someone doesn't smile or say hello, it might be that they're shy. All right. And then you take that into a leadership context, it might be if someone criticises your decision, do they have all the facts? Do they know what you know? Yeah. Are they seeing things from their perspective only? Yeah. Is their perspective actually valid, and therefore, like I just explained, they're going to criticise, but I had to make a decision. Yeah. And so just working your way through some of those things, what else is going on here? What I don't want to do to them what they're doing to me, so they're making criticism only seeing part of the story, and I can do the same thing back to them, only seeing part of their story. And so I thought that was a really good one. Before I get upset, just think through it a bit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because it's going both ways at all times. You have to keep trying to remain aware of what's going on. Yeah, you need to try and think of their perspective before you get sucked in. Yeah, because you can get so easily sucked into it so quickly. And like, because one of the things is that people do is like, we look at our own opinions and perspectives with all of the justifications behind it.
Right.
And we don't see all of the justifications and things behind someone else's decision.
Yeah.
And so someone could do the same thing that we do, and we could be judgmental of them for it.
Yeah,
going, but mine was justified.
Yeah.
Theirs wasn't.
I remember it was a few years ago I heard this thing, and I think it's so true, and I really try to consider this at times, is that we want everybody to judge us. Or I want everybody to judge me based on my intentions.
Yeah.
While I judge everyone else based on the outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
Now, in one sense, it's, of course, people judge on outcomes because that's all they can see.
Yeah.
So it's slowing down. It's going, okay, I'm seeing other people's outcomes. I need to slow down enough to engage with them without being offended to find out what their intentions were.
Yeah.
And then, for me, realize that sometimes people are going to jump to conclusions because all they can see is my outcome and they don't know my intention. So if someone comes at me all frustrated, don't go back defensively, but go, hey, I can see why you would feel like that, but can I also explain?
Yeah.
And
and there's an opportunity to educate, and
Yeah.
someone will often at times just go, oh yeah, checks out.
Yeah.
Because it might have just been a raw emotion, they got triggered by something, and then once they hear the understanding, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And do you know what? Can I be really honest? I think that it's often easy for me to keep those principles in leadership. And what I really want to grow on is making sure I'm doing the same thing in my friendships and at home.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when my wife sees just the outcome and she's human and jumps to a conclusion, do I just fight back after being patient with people all day long?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then Paul Rennes does it, and I'm like, what? Or do I give her the same grace I would have that person in a work situation where I go, hey, I can actually see why you'd be ticked off by that, babe, but this is what I was actually trying to achieve there. Can you understand?
Yeah. Yeah, because it is easier to not take something personal in a professional setting.
Yeah.
Much harder to not take something personal in a personal relationship.
Right. Especially the closest one.
Like I've had clients throw me under the bus saying, oh, Alex said this, and this. And then it was like, I didn't. But I'm just like,
whatever.
It's 15-year-old kids. They're just trying to survive. Like, they just needed someone to have a go at while they try and just get through this thing. So it's like, you don't take any of it on. But then if your wife was throwing you under the bus, you're gonna struggle a bit more to say, okay, well, what is your perspective here, Dale?
Yeah, it's so true, hey?
Yeah.
Even
because you're just, and even just emotion, like you'll just trigger quicker and immediately to something like that. You don't have the same emotional connections.
Yes.
So
yeah. So it's not necessarily that you're bad. It's just you're more emotionally invested.
Yeah.
But they deserve the best of us, right?
Yeah.
I even noticed, like, I can be really tired because you have a full week or whatever. And one of the weird things in pastoring, and especially some of the leadership stuff I do at the moment, is you often have early morning starts because you catch up with people or you have things to do before everyone's at work.
Yeah.
And then you have after work meetings as well. So you can have really long days. The way I'm wired, rather than go, oh, well, I'll just have a downtime in the middle of the day, I just can't do that.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll do 4 really big days. And then that means that on the 5th day, I can just do a bit of sermon prep. I can do a few emails from home. You know, it just gives me flexibility on that day.
Yeah.
And I'd rather work like that. But it does mean that come day 4 of, a couple of really big days, and I can be in a meeting and I'm really tired and someone's just being obstinate and I've got all the patience in the world for them. And then you get home.
One tiny little thing.
One tiny thing. It's like, why would I not? I'm willing to give somebody who actually doesn't even give a rip about me the best of me.
Yeah.
And then these guys get the dregs.
Yeah.
I want to be better than that, eh?
Yeah.
It's something I'm personally trying to really work on at the moment. Is just go, I want my family to get the best of me.
Yeah. And that's a big, cultural thing for, a lot of people. Like, a lot of people working a lot, and a lot of people do go and give their best to their workplace or, you know, whatever that external thing might be that you invest a lot of time into, and, you know, and there's nothing wrong with giving good amounts of energy to it. But yeah, it is one of those sort of catch-22 things of having that employment or that career or that job. It's providing lots of great things, but you don't want to let it rob your family or the people closest to you of what they deserve from you as well. Yeah.
One thing I've been trying to do in that is just be honest. So I was a couple of weeks ago, had some really big meetings, and I just got home emotionally exhausted, and I could feel like I walked in the door and all three girls came running up to me to tell me something. And normally I love that moment, but instead I was just like, I just want to go to my bedroom. The dog was running around in circles, chasing its tail, kitchen stuff everywhere. And poor Rena's right. Like, she's at home. She's trying to cook dinner, do homework, get the kids through baths. Yeah. And then I walk in, and it's and in her mind, it's like, oh, good,
finally,
he's
home. He can deal with something.
And Rena's even says, like, the minute I walk in, the atmosphere of the kids will shift. Like, if they've been a bit at each other, it's like, oh, the fun one's home.
Yeah.
And so she looks forward to that moment because, oh, backup's here.
Yeah.
And so it's
sometimes Calvary doesn't arrive.
Right. Sometimes the backup's a bit like, yeah. And so we're trying to just be more honest with each other in that moment and just go, I'm so tired tonight. What do you need me to do? And then let me clock out.
Yeah.
Or, you know, just be, and even just being allowed, and I don't know, other people might be listening to this going, what is wrong with you, mate? Like, isn't that just how you live? But I just, you have that thing of, oh, I'm home. I want to give it, I want to be there now. But I just can't. And then you get real cranky. But instead, just being actually able to say to your spouse, I'm exhausted. Either way, like, I just had a massive day at work.
How do you best reset when you're in that spot?
Yeah, so I'm an introvert, which means I recharge on my own.
Yeah.
And I love to think. So often for me, it'll be, well, one thing I love doing this time of year, I'd say whether we need it or not, except it's very, very rare that we don't need it because we have the most inefficient fireplace in Australia, is I'll go and chop some wood, put a podcast in, usually something that's fun, footy or something, true crime.
I know a good fantasy podcast.
And then even just half an hour outside. I love being outdoors, love being on my own. So, you know, it ticks all the boxes. I'm on my own. I'm actually achieving something. My mind's ticking over, but it's not heavy. Yeah. I'm outdoors, and so it just ticks all the boxes. And half an hour later, but because I'm learning to just communicate a bit better around that and just be honest with how we are, Rena's might be like, can you just pop them in the shower? Or she just really wants to show you her homework or whatever. And I can do that, and then I'll be like, I'm going to go chop wood for half an hour. Is that cool?
But you've got the context of, you know, you haven't just come home and you're going to deal with chaos for the rest of the night. Yeah, and so you build in that understanding of, and that's where the give and take comes in. You've got two people that both need some downtime at some point because you both reach the end of your limits for the day.
Yep.
And so you got to still work together in that. And so you bring that understanding in. And for me, I've largely been able to manage, like, because I'm the same, I'm an introvert, and I'll hit points where I'm just really exhausted, but I can reset quickly if I just have some downtime, do something like, you know, for me, it could even be do the dishes, listening to something, or be that just some silence. Inward. So it's just about having that understanding and being able to communicate. And, you know, there'll be times where you just say, look, I'll do it. I just need to go sit down for 10 minutes or whatever it is, and you're able to reset and it's all good.
Yeah, it's so true. Hey? Even I know one that's really helped for Renters on the flip side is because, you know, when like all parents, we love our children, but it's work. And it's the emotional work more than anything. Yeah. And so after dinner, I'll always be like Renters does, because of the time I get home now. I was joking with someone the other day. I remember back in the good old days when it was 50-50 cooking. Yeah. It's been a long time since it was that. Yeah. We definitely do that when I'm on holidays. But during the term time, Renters is home, I'm not. So she'll cook, I'll get home. And I used to, especially since she started doing the bulk of the cooking, like it was a real thing in me that, right, well, I get up and clear the table and put the dishes. But then Renters would be getting the kids ready for bed again. And she actually said to me, well, can you just let me do the dishes? Because it's that thing for you, like, it's just, there's no emotion attached to it.
Yeah.
You take the girls and get their teeth and get ready for bed and read them and pray. You know, Rennes will come up for final prayers, but all the hustle and bustle and where's your shirt and where's this gone and where's the pull up and what's happening?
Yeah.
And she's just standing there going, stacking the dishes.
These dishes don't argue back.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you drop it and smash it.
And the other thing that she says, which is so true, is that when I'm doing the dishes, she'll get the girls ready for bed. I'll do the dishes. Girls are in bed. I've got to go back and finish doing the dishes. Yeah. Renee's just 3 times faster than me, and it's partly because of my OCD thing.
Yeah, you're getting it perfect.
I've got to like rinse them off to the point that they don't even need to go in the dishwasher by the time they go in the dishwasher. Whereas Rennes will just, I don't know how she does it. She's amazing. She smashes the whole thing. That by the time the girls are there ready for prayers, Rennes walks in, and I'm like, how did you do that so fast?
Melissa's always saying that about me, like with the speed of which I'll do like the dishes or something, like because I would always do the dishes just because like Melissa's back will normally start hurting when like we've got the dishwasher out at her parents' place now, but we were just always washing by hand, and every now and then she'll be like, "I'll do the dishes tonight." It's like an hour later, sore back, and she's still trying to get the and then I'll come in like because I organise it all, so I'll get everything quickly stacked and put into the order in which I want to go through it, and I'll smash through all the cutlery, and then I'll do the bowls, plates, bigger items, and I know how to stack it all well. And then she'll just be going, she's like, random big thing, a spoon, and then she'll just like, and then she'll walk out the room and comes back, and I'm almost finished. How do you do that so quick?
Well, I'm probably like you, but I take it to the nth degree because that's what Rennes will be like. You spend that long sorting them before you wash. I put them in the but I probably spend. I don't know. I just can't do it. And so the reason that is a bonus is that it's quicker, so that when the girls are in bed, then Rennes and I both we're finished. Yeah, we can just chill or whatever we want to do together, and it's not Caleb back down there going, I'm only halfway through the dishes.
Oh, I'm not done yet. Good times. Families, am I right?
Yeah, it's awesome. But it is what I guess what I'm learning is to communicate without emotion, without grumpiness, even the fact that, hey, and I guess I had a lot of guilt tied up with the idea. Even recently I said to Renee's, I feel guilty when I relax sometimes at home if things aren't finished. Yeah. And Renee's like, that's crazy. If you need to stop. I'm like, yeah, but you've been going on. And so it's just learning to be able to go, hey, babe, I'm actually really tired. What can I do? And then I need to chill. Yeah. Having the emotional maturity to have that conversation has been really helpful, and we're learning to get better at it.
Yeah. And it builds trust. Like, you need to build the trust for things like as small as the dishes, of being able to say, look, I'm just really tired tonight. I'll finish that in the morning.
Yep.
And that actually requires a lot of trust.
Yes.
Because if the trust isn't there, the people are going, well, you said that last time, it sat there for 3 days, so I ended up doing it. Or, so you got to back it up and be able to build all of that stuff into your life. And so, that's when the trust element comes into it all. Hey?
Definitely.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, that will do us for this morning. Thanks for the good chats, mate. And we will be back next week with another episode.
Look forward to it. All right.
Bye.